And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice and driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Find them both. MotleyRice.com, causes not just cases. Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. End of year deals are hot and happening as the holiday season has pretty much finally arrived. So make sure you find them at StokesVW.com. Make sure you find us on the JB and Goldwater app. It's free. You can download that into your phone. You can watch and listen to us daily. You can always head to jbandgoldwatershow.com as well for much more information on us and all available options to be able to watch or listen to our program, which today is full with 4 guests. We have 4 segments in this show. We have 4 guests. So we're going to be pretty packed and tight all the way till 2 o'clock today. Coming up in just a few minutes, more reaction to the Braves and the World Series. Cory McCartney will join us at 12:10 today from Atlanta, Georgia. TalkingChop.com has probably kept you all very busy if you're a Braves fan over the last few days, as they've done something they haven't done since the mid-'90s, win it all. And Cory will have his reaction and what we're going to take a peek at in the offseason as well. That's coming up in a few minutes. And then Mike Uva is head at 12:35 today. We haven't spoken with Biscuit Mike in a while. Now with Gamecocks Central, he's fairly busy, but he's made some time to include us into that schedule in about a half an hour or so. Carolina's got basketball tonight, an exhibition up there at Colonial Life Arena. It's the first look at a bunch of newbies, transfers, and freshmen for Frank Martin's ball club. So we'll certainly talk about that, talk about the Gators and the Gamecocks inside of Williams-Brice Stadium this weekend with him. High school playoffs start tonight, as a matter of fact. And tomorrow night, of course, is Friday, so it's the big night across the state. But David Shelton will join us at 1:05. We've got the brackets. I've got them in front of me. And so we'll be able to go through some of those games with David Shelton. And then Scott Glaze coming up today on golf at the end of the program. And you might think, well, there's nothing going on in golf. And temporarily that is true for the most part. But there could be, because it does appear that Greg Norman is looking to maybe battle with the PGA, amongst others, on a global scale, a startup. He's tried to do this before, and it's been a while, almost 25, 30 years ago. And it looks like they might be trying to do that again. Why? I'm not exactly sure, but maybe Scott has those answers. So that'll be an interesting – if you're a fan of golf, you'll probably want to hear this a little bit later on in our program. All right, so Darren, today is the day. Today is the day to steal your taco. Because of Ozzy Albies, everybody in America gets a free taco. So good news. If you are married to somebody or friends with somebody that doesn't like tacos, put them in the car and take them to Taco Bell. That means you'll get 2 free ones. You get yours and you get theirs if they don't want to eat it. So you can steal a taco today at Taco Bell, the free nacho cheese Doritos Los Taco.
Is that the only option?
I believe so. I just pulled it up a little bit ago. Let's see.
I mean, if I'm going to get a free taco, I'd like to have a taco that's better than the. Well, I've never had it, so I can't really say.
I've had it. It's pretty good. I you know what? Some people are going to some people just don't like this for whatever reason. I like Taco Bell. I don't eat there all the time, but I like Taco Bell.
It's been forever since I've been there. I mean, it could be a couple of years since the last time I went for a steal a taco thing, actually. But I do like it. It's good. It's one of the better fast food places. I don't eat fast food very often at all, but it's solid. Do you want to feel old? Karate Kid turns 60, not the movie, the actor, Machio, is 60 today.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that did the trick.
Mm-hmm.
Holy moly. Yeah. What a great Thursday. It is chilly out there. I saw somebody said it was cold where they are. It's pretty chilly here. It's going to be chilly the next couple of days as well. Speaking of chili, maybe have some. Does Dog and Duck have chili?
Sometimes it is on the menu. It's on the specials occasionally, but it's excellent when they do. It's very, very yeah. I've had it a number of times.
Maybe we need to check in with the boys and girls at Dog and Duck and figure out when they'll be offering that since the weather's cooling down for everybody.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, I see you there. The Share Healthcare chat lines are open, sharehealthcare.com. Don't get stuck with a big medical bill. Make sure you've got a healthcare program that you can afford, more affordable, more options, user-friendly, sharehealthcare.com. You can join literally right now. Head to sharehealthcare.com. Tell your friends about it. It is so affordable. As low as $149 a month, as a matter of fact. Fantastic stuff with Share Healthcare. Adam says in the Share Healthcare chat lines, just tried for a solid hour to get tickets for the Braves party at Truist. No luck. Yeah, you're probably not the only one. Did I missee this or misread this? There's not a ticket to the parade, right? Isn't the parade through the city of Atlanta? Like anybody can go to the parade, right?
I think that's the whole point of a parade. How are you going to sell tickets?
I don't know.
You got to be able to go to the parade if you want to go to the parade.
And they're selling tickets to go to the party at Truist.
Right, which will be a rocking good time. I mean, Adam,
yeah.
I don't blame you at all for trying to go. I'd still try. I mean, if you're sitting around watching the show, have another screen up and just keep hitting refresh.
Yeah, I know. You wonder how many former Braves will be there. I don't know. We'll ask Cory in a minute. Maybe he'll be able to fill us in on that. Yeah, it's gonna be something to see over there for sure. There you go. Parade is free. Party at the park. You got to have a ticket for that one. Yeah, well, all right, makes sense. All right, tonight in football, if you are a fan of college football, that's probably going to be the better option. Sean Elliott and Georgia State are on ESPN at 7:30 down at Cajun Field in Lafayette against Louisiana Lafayette. 7-1, 5-0 in the Fun Belt. By the way, Georgia State is 3-1 in the Sun Belt, although they're 4-4 overall. Sean Elliott, since he was hired as head coach over there in Atlanta, has attempted to schedule very difficultly since being named the top dog, and he has. So that's where a lot of their losses come from. But they're having a nice year so far in the Sun Belt, which, by the way, is going to get better with realignment, something we just haven't had much of a chance to talk about around here over the last week or so. But Georgia State and Louisiana tonight at 7:30 on ESPN. And then if you're an NFL guy or gal, the Jets and the Colts, they both have losing records. The Jets are 2-5 and the Colts are 3-5. Indy is a 10.5-point favorite at Lucas Oil Stadium tonight up there in Indianapolis at an 8:20 kick on Fox. And guess what, Joe Buck, you're back to work, my friend. And then he'll be calling another one coming up on Sunday. So at some point in time, you got to wonder when Joe Buck's voice will evade him. But thus far, he's been in pretty good shape. So there you go. That's your Thursday night football, NFL, and college football schedule. Again, Mike Uva ahead at 12:35. Hoops tonight in Columbia. We'll get a preview of Gamecock basketball with him. And you got Carolina and Florida coming up on Saturday. David Shelton on the high school football playoffs at 1 o'clock, and Scott Glaze will join us at 1:35. But first and foremost, so Cory McCartney, I got introduced to Cory back in 2016. It's 2021, Cory. So 5 years we've talked Braves baseball and we've talked Major League Baseball. And as soon as this thing happened on Tuesday night, obviously Darren and I have a show that we constantly have to prep for, and there was literally nobody that went to the top of the list before you as to who I couldn't wait to speak to. This is an amazing moment in Atlanta sports history, let alone the Braves. You're right in the thick of it. What an amazing time, Cory. Welcome, and go Braves.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, all kinds of emotions are around Atlanta. I mean, I think, this wasn't the team that people thought was going to be the one to do this. I mean, certainly think about all they went through, the obstacles, losing Acuna, losing Soroka. I just, obviously needing 111 games to get to 500, above 500. So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy around here. I mean, I don't really think there's any other way to put it. I mean, you're seeing, places selling all the Brave stuff. I mean, the schools are taking off for tomorrow for the parade and the celebration afterwards at Truist Park. So, I mean, it's everybody's got Braves fever, and it's amazing around here. There's no question.
So, Cory, let's go back to Game 6, and we talked to Grayson Griner yesterday, who's the catcher for the Detroit Tigers. He is a former Gamecock as well, and Grayson played in Houston this year. I think he caught 1 or 2 games over there against the Stros. Hit a home run at a Minute Maid, as a matter of fact. Has played against Soler, has played against Rosario, knows those guys, and gave us some stories and some background on both of them. So it was a great time to talk to him and get a player's insight on all this. And I asked him the same question about the first inning and Max Fried's performance in it. And his response to me was the game changed when he got his ankle stepped on. That's from a starting catcher in Major League Baseball. What did you think about the first inning after that incident? And then all of a sudden, Fried is pumping 97, 98 mile an hour BBs on the inside corner.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when it happened, I initially thought about Tim Hudson and Eric Young Jr., stepping on his ankle and ending his season. I think in the moment, were you worried if we had seen Max Fried throw his last pitch of 2021? Then obviously for him to regroup the way that he did, I mean, so his last fastball that he threw in that inning was 98.4 miles an hour. He's only thrown 3 faster in 3,807 career fastballs. Only 3 have been faster than that one that he threw moments after having his ankle stepped on. So he was absolutely fired up. And then obviously you add in the stage, you add in the fact that he had a 10.24 ERA in his last 2 postseason starts before that. I mean, this was not exactly like we saw out of Tom Glavine in '95 to finish off that series and get in 6 games against the Indians. But you think about taking on the most highest scoring offense in baseball, and the Astros, just like that Indians team was with Glavine. I mean, this was ace territory stuff for Max Fried. And I think if anybody had question marks about, whether he was to that degree or to that level as a starting pitcher, I mean, this performance is going to go a long way towards saying, yep, Max Fried's an ace.
So I love that comment, Cory. And we spoke to you earlier this week. Thanks for the double duty, by the way. And we know you're very busy. But earlier this week, I made a comment to you. I thought, okay, they're going back to Houston. Fried is going to get the start in Game 6. Altuve he's going to go up there hacking. That's what he does. More than likely, you might see something off speed on the first pitch of the game. But it was totally opposite. He literally came out and said, I am going to establish my fastball today. I'm going to determine what happens. How about Max Fried's makeup? He seems a little quirky. I will admit that. I was listening to some of his post-game interviews, not a lot of smiles. He almost seems uncomfortable in front of the camera at times, unlike Freddie and many of those other Ozzy Albies. But his makeup was the exact opposite. He was like, no, I'm going to go right after them.
Yeah, I mean, he's stoicism is kind of a par for the course with Max Fried. He's always been like that. I mean, he's just a guy who just doesn't show, a lot of emotions, which obviously made that last pitch of that first inning when he did show emotion stand out so much. But, he's a guy who relies on setting up that sweeping curveball. And I think the fact that he went away from his game plan, usually throws about 41% fastballs, and he was, relying on that fastball heavily in that game. So I think he just decided, look, there's been a book out on me these last few starts. He struggled, in his 3 previous outings, including one against that Astros team. And so I think he just decided to flip the script. And, when you can go, he's not a guy who has to rely on being crafty. He can pump fastballs, as we saw in that game, and challenge hitters all day long. They were waiting for something else, and the game plan they had was not the one that Max Fried decided to go with.
What does that say about him and the performance overall? Because we talked about this last week, right? Before the series started, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, that the strength of the Astros is a fastball hitting team, but the Braves can counter that with some non-fastballs here. But he went right at their strength and dominated them. What does that say about him and, I don't know, maybe the future of him, the rotation?
Yeah, I just don't know that you can do that on a consistent basis. I mean, I think, certainly you think about the wear and tear on the arm. Obviously we've seen him pitch out of the bullpen. We've seen him, as a starter more often than not, and he kind of understands, what it takes to be successful in both those roles. But I just can't see him long term getting away from, what he typically does, which is trying to set up this secondary stuff. Obviously, you're trying to establish a fastball for that very purpose, but I don't see this really changing how he approaches starts. But we know he has it in him, especially on big stages like this, to kind of dial it up and be that different kind of pitcher.
Cory McCartney, Atlanta, Georgia, TalkingChop.com can keep you busy for the entire offseason. There's so much stuff going on over there right now. Great information. All right. You mentioned the word game plan a minute ago, and I thought, Cory, I've been wrong the whole time, so it's not shocking here. But I thought for sure the other night, once Fried got through the sixth, I think it was, and he was right around 70 some odd pitches. I was just texting with some buddies back and forth. We all feel like we're pretty smart baseball people. Oh man, this is going to be a classic, ride this guy and carry him off on your shoulders type moment. I mean, this is going to be the next Glavine, basically, as you already mentioned, although Glavine didn't throw 98 and it was one hit that he gave up back in 95, but he didn't. He went right to the bullpen. And so that was just another example of Brian Snitker. They had a game plan. They went into the game, stuck with it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that just has to do with just how dominant and just how effective that bullpen, especially that night shift, grouping of Luke Jackson and Matzek, Minter, and Will Smith have been, that they just felt like, we've got what we needed to get out of you, and we don't want to press the issue here. I think this is, it's going to be interesting, obviously, as we think about starting pitchers and what we expect from starting pitchers going forward. I think performances like this, when you got a guy, or even, think about the last time we saw Ian Anderson, I don't know that we're going to see a lot of these complete game gems coming from guys. I mean, think about Verlander and, Madison Bumgarner and those kind of defining postseason moments. I don't know that those exist in that form anymore, or they're going to anymore, because I think, as we die, whether you're relying on analytics, or you're relying on gut, or you're relying on, a bullpen that can show it can more than handle a workload. I just think there's so many variables that stop that from happening. You kind of just have to have a new version of what you expect, or what you anticipate or accept as being a dominance from a pitcher in a postseason game.
RB, we see your question. That is on the docket. We'll get to that here in just a minute. You mentioned 98.4 miles per hour the other night, Cory. That radar gun seemingly was correct, but what wasn't correct was whatever gadget they used to measure home runs. Because anybody that tries to tell me Jorge Soler's only went 446 feet is dead wrong. I still don't think it's landed. They might find it somewhere rolling around Truist. That ball was tattooed. And when it's not just the fact that it went 6,000 feet, and it's not just the fact, Cory, that it was a 3-run homer to give them a 3-0 lead. In the game prior, Duvall hit a grand slam in the first. They had a 4-0 lead. But the difference, though, was that left-hander who was on the mound, who was feeling it that night. What did you feel in that moment when that ball left the yard with Soler, knowing what Fried had started doing already in the ball game?
Yeah, I mean, I think I tweeted it out immediately. I said, that's your World Series MVP right there. I mean, and it's crazy to think that Jorge Soler, was out for the NLCS, after testing positive for COVID. So not that COVID had any effect on his ability to play the game, but I mean, the fact that he was off, he wasn't getting in-game action, in the NLCS, and you just step in the World Series and you hit a leadoff home run and you hit a pinch hit home run. I mean, he's the only player in history to hit a leadoff home run and a pinch hit home run in a World Series game. And then obviously what we saw, in the clincher from him. So he's a free agent now. He went on the market yesterday. So, I mean, obviously whether or not he comes back is going to be a big storyline, I think, with this team. Regardless, I think Jorge Soler is going to get himself paid this off season. But in that moment, I mean, Yeah, I mean, a friend of mine, Ryan Fagan, who writes for Sporting News, went in search of that ball, couldn't find it, and apparently it was ended up at some party that was back behind there, rolled into an apartment party. So, I mean, just wildness all around from that moment.
Wow, that's a nugget. See, it went longer than 446 feet. That's BS.
It's cool. If you Google it, it's pretty cool because I mean, it's the ball's like a celebrity. It took this traveling tour basically. I don't know who had it though.
So what happened? Like people were just standing around and a ball comes bouncing through the. I mean, I don't know how that happened.
Apparently, and the kid had the picture of him holding it, and it's got a mark. I mean, that thing was just tattooed. I mean, you said that. I mean, literally, there's a mark on that ball. I mean, that's how hard Jorge Soler hit that ball, and it really was. I know they showed it during the game, but it really did have shades of Albert Pujols and and off of Brad Lidge, and it's. I don't know that you could really say enough. You already mentioned Adam Duvall, and we mentioned Jorge Soler about what that group of new outfielders really meant to this team. I mean, obviously. Eddie Rosario had a historic NLCS. We saw Jock Peterson hit 2 pinch hit home runs in the NLDS. They're not World Series champions without those guys. And you wonder, you hate to kind of draw these lines, but if Marcelo Zuna is still on this team, if Ronald Acuna Jr. doesn't get hurt, they still have good outfielders. They don't have this depth. And I think that's what's so interesting to me about this team was that they had so much depth. And I don't know that they are in a position where they feel like they have to go get that depth. If they're full strength in terms of what they normally had out of the outfield.
So there was, from what I understand, there were a number of Braves yesterday that filed for free agency, and that does include Freddie Freeman, correct?
Yep.
So
yes, yep.
What will this look like for Atlanta? I mean, just the timeline of how long this is going to stretch. I mean, the Braves. I mean. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble here, but they're not going to be able to re-sign every one of these guys. That's just not going to happen. So what does this next month or two or longer, I guess, look like for Atlanta's front office?
Yeah, the next 5 days are going to be interesting too, because they have 5 days to decide. Both sides do they have mutual contract options with Adam Duvall and Jock Peterson. So Duvall's is $7 million and Jock Peterson's $10 million. They both have, I believe, $3 million buyouts. Or $2 million buyouts if they decide to walk away from those. I would anticipate both those guys, both those options not getting picked up. I think, Adam Duvall, because the thing with Duvall is he's still an arbitration eligible player. So he could potentially make, $12 million next year in as a 1-year arbitration guy, as opposed to picking up a $7 million option just to keep himself in Atlanta. So that's going to be something big to watch with those two. Obviously we've mentioned Soler. There's also an option on Josh Tomlin, who, we didn't see him in the postseason at all, but obviously the big ones, those outfielders, and then what happens with Freddie Freeman. There's a parade tomorrow that will finish at Truist Park, and not that I'm not trying to forecast anything here, but I would anticipate if you could somehow announce Freddie Freeman's contract at that parade tomorrow, I couldn't imagine a bigger moment for this franchise or this city. But certainly, whatever happens for him, whether he listens to other teams, whether they get into his ear or not. We know this offseason is going to be defined and determined by what happens by Freddie Freeman.
Where's your confidence level that he does re-sign with Atlanta?
I think it's really high. I just think, sometimes, we get to this point with guys, and I'm not saying Freddie Freeman's like this, where they've reached a level and now it becomes about, about legacy. And I think he's there, but certainly, other teams are going to say you can do the same thing here, and when you get that title, does your mindset change? I don't see him being like that, because he's so, intertwined in Atlanta and the culture of Atlanta and the community, and wanting to be, a fixture here and wanting to maintain that. He's been clear about that for years. So I can't imagine him not staying put. But, let's say the Braves, are only willing to go 7 years, and you get, the Yankees or another team that say, we'll give you 8-9 years. I mean, I just think there's variables at play that he's going to have other suitors. It's just, can the Braves kind of offset whatever money is going to be on the table?
I mean, it's almost like growing up in a family, Cory. I mean, there's many of us out there who grow up and then they take over the family business, or they do something that mom and dad did. And I feel like there's a similarity there. Like, he grew up in this family of Braves that were lifers. I mean, guys like Chipper, and he's gotten to know, I know that Smoltz got moved at the end of his career, and same thing with Glavine and things like that. But there's just so many Atlanta Braves who, who were there forever. And even if they got moved for a year or two or whatever, they came home. And it's all he knows. It's all he understands. It seems like it's all he wants. I guess the question will come down to money. I'm sure they can find it. What about Marcell Ozuna's cash? And is there going to be a resolution on that at some point in time? Because I think he's owed $17 million, and that could go a long way towards something else.
Yeah, and obviously, unless there's criminal charges here, you can't walk away from that contract. So, I mean, they're gonna have to walk. They're either gonna have to pay him to walk away, or they're gonna have to find some way to try to make people understand why you would potentially ever have him back in a Braves uniform. So, I can't imagine him ever playing again. I mean, I obviously, you more than may do without him. You've shown that you've got guys, and then you've got, as much as we talk about those outfielders, about Soler and Duvall and Rosario and Peterson, you've also got Christian Pache, you've got Drew Waters, you've got guys who are on the way up, who are homegrown guys, and you've got one of the top 10 players in all of baseball, and Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be back next year, healthy again, ready to roll. So, I don't know that there's a place in this for Marcell Ozuna. He's getting paid one way or the other, but I don't know that he has a place in a Braves uniform.
12:26 Thursday afternoon. Cory McCartney. All right, so Braves go through the Dodgers, and like the Dodgers, like a few other organizations out there, have outstanding arms in their pitching staff. Of course, in LA, they're aging a little bit. It's not the case in Atlanta. The Atlanta Braves have Max Fried, Mike Soroka, and Ian Anderson as potentially their top three guys next year. They're all young dudes, and they are all lightning type guys, all-star type pitchers. Where will this and I don't know who's going to end up filling out 4 and 5 necessarily at this point in time, but where do you think this rotation and the expectations for the Atlanta Braves in 2022 are going to be coming off of this World Championship?
And obviously, too, you got Charlie Morton, who's still under contract for next year, and he has an option for the year after that. So, I think Kyle Wright, showed you in the World Series that he can handle this. I don't know that anybody's had, quite the roller coaster that Kyle Wright's had. You think about coming up and, being lumped in with all those other guys and really not getting a long-term chance to show whether he could hang at the major league level. But he's going to be a factor in this. Kyle Muller, Tuki Toussaint, and you can go on and on. I almost anticipate this will be the offseason where they don't feel like they have to go out and get another veteran arm. They've done that so many times, but they're not going to get Soroka back probably, until, June, July. I think that's probably anticipation. There's been no timetable put on it, but I think if you look at the 18 or so months recovery, that's probably what you're looking at. And then, so you're going to have to cover that time period, but I just can't see them going out and following that kind of Drew Smiley route that they've done in the past and getting that veteran guy. But we know that the division is going to be loaded, right? I mean, the Mets are, still have all those names that on their roster. I mean, the Phillies have a lot of work to do in their outfield. We know the Marlins are coming. Certainly the Nationals have arguably the best hitter in all of baseball. So I mean, it's going to be still a just firecracker of a division. So but we'll see what the Braves have more than enough pitching without question going into 22.
I appreciate you throwing the Nationals into that, because they'll be rounding out the division at least for the next year or so.
I had to fit them in there some way.
Thanks.
You still got Soto.
By the way, little off topic, because I know we already addressed Freddie, but what's I can't help but think this just because it's the Yankees, but like, what's Joey Gallo's situation up there? If you think the Yankees might look at Freddie Freeman and say, hey, we're the Yankees, we're going to throw $300 million at you, come play with us. I mean, they're notorious for doing that with guys in their lower 30s like he is at 32. Come finish out your career up here in New York.
Yeah, and think about, Anthony Rizzo is a free agent, right? So they traded for him, and if you have
that's what I meant.
Pick one or the other. If you have one or the other between Rizzo and Freddie Freeman, and you've got that short right field porch. I mean, I know Freddie is a guy who loves to go and line it over top of the shortstop's head. But I think, much like we saw with Joey Votto these past couple of years, I will bet you if Freddie Freeman wanted to, he could hit 50 homers in a season. I bet if he decided to sell out a little bit more and he played in a ballpark like that, I would think 50 home runs could be in the cards for him.
That's amazing. Enough with all this. What's next year going to look like, and this, that, and the other? It's still this year, and they're world champions, Cory. They've won the World Series. I mean, think about that for a second. The Braves just won the World Series, man. I mean, what is what does all of this mean? How much research have you done comparing and contrasting that 95 team that won the series? Of course, they got back in 96. They were there again in 99, but they didn't win it again until this year. Have you looked at any similarities between that club and this club and what the future means based on this? And just in general, Atlanta. I mean, how great is this for the city of Atlanta?
Well, honestly, it's unprecedented here in Atlanta. I mean, so I talked, earlier about how long it took this team to get above 500, which was 111 games. The 1914 Braves, which was the Boston, they were in Boston at the time. It took them 95 games to get above 500. They went from last place to first place, charging up to win. Obviously, back then you didn't have to go through the rounds that you have to now in the postseason. But certainly, that 95 team, that was different. I mean, that was a culmination. That was, feeling like these guys have been so close so many times. This, you think if you look, we didn't have this kind of stuff to look back on from 95. But if you go to the day before the trade deadline, Fangraphs had this team with a 2% chance to win the World Series. 2% chance. I mean that, and I would sincerely doubt there was at any point that 1995 Braves team ever had a 2% chance of winning the World Series. I mean, this is just it's unprecedented on so many levels, implausible on so many levels. I mean, just all the losses, all the obstacles. This should not have been the team to have done it, and the fact that they have, and the fact that you've got so many young guys that are under contract for a long time. Whatever happens with Freddie Freeman, you've got years left of Ozzie Albies. You've got years left of Ronald Acuna Jr. You've got years left of Soroka and Fried and on and on. I mean, Austin Riley. This team's not going anywhere, and I think that has to be the maybe the craziest thing for Braves fans and the scariest thing for us of baseball.
Yeah, and I asked you to compare it to 95. I think even a better comparison might be to what just happened a couple of years ago with Darren's Nationals. They were in a similar situation. They got hot, and they went and won the thing. And I think that something that gets lost in that conversation and this conversation is this. Yes, the Braves were the hottest team in baseball. Freddie pointed it out after the game the other night. He said, hey, we had the best record in the league for a while. But everybody likes to go, well, they were, especially a lot of the national guys, well, they were below 500. This was never a bad baseball team. Like, this was a really talented and really good team, but there are some things that happened, and a lot of it just hadn't clicked yet. And then it clicked, much like what happened to Washington 2 years ago. They were like really, really good. It just hadn't really gotten going yet. And then it got going, and they were better than everybody.
Yeah, and I think one interesting thing with them, when you kind of correlate this team with the Nationals, or even if you want to correlate them with the Astros that they just took down, or the Cubs, is that they're not going to get in a situation where they have to start making decisions over which guys you keep and which ones you let walk away, because you've got Acuna and Albies are under contract for a long time at sweetheart deals, so they can keep them and still build around them with so many guys. I think that's why ultimately Freddie Freeman stays put, because you look at this Atlanta situation, and you're not saying to yourself, okay, am I Miguel Cabrera and I'm going to sign a 12-year contract? What does the end of that look like? That's not happening here. He's going to be surrounded by guys who are going to be all-star, top-tier elite talent for a long, long time around him.
Yeah, and by the way, more than likely the DH is coming to the National League. So if there becomes a time where Freddie is kind of done at first, he can still hit. So
could that be next year after what could be a strike? Yeah. Could that be next year?
Yeah, I think we're done seeing pitchers hit. I think unless you get a Max Fried or a Zach Greinke, if he somehow decides to stay around and wants to get a pinch hit every once in a while, I think we're done. I think it's over with.
It's amazing. How many legends will be at the party tomorrow at Truist Park? What do you anticipate seeing over there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think you're gonna obviously have Glavin, who's part of the Valley Sports broadcast team. I think he'll be there. Obviously, you'll have Chipper there. I would anticipate you're going to see a lot of those guys are going to want to be around for this and kind of finally coordinate a new group. And it's insane. I mean, I've been around this team for a long, long time, covering them for 9 years now, and just kind of the kind of aura some of those guys have when they come back. We've got a whole new crop now that you think 10, 15 years from now, every time Jorge Soler steps into Truist Park or whatever in the world we're calling it at that point, I mean, it's gonna set things off. So a whole new generation of Braves legends was made a couple nights ago.
Yep, that's incredible. It's gonna be awesome. You'll be there tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm actually taking the kids to it. So everybody's shutting down. So I'm not going to work. I'm just letting my kids go and enjoy something that they'll maybe, who knows if they'll ever experience something like this again.
It's just tremendous. Cory, I thoroughly hope that you and your family enjoy that moment tomorrow. By the way, I was right. The 4 division titles thing. I remember that. Do you remember that stat?
Yeah, I do. I do remember.
Yeah, and let me add to it: 4 in 95, 4 in 21, 44. Hank Aaron. I mean, it's romantic. It's it's romantic.
You're a romantic guy.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but the hammer and Hank was he had his little hands all over this thing, big hands actually.
And the nugget that Dave O'Brien tweeted that someone just popped into our message board. Speaking of Hank Aaron, 44 games in the first half are won, 44 games after the break, 44th week of the year, the World Series.
Yep. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's a lot of 44s.
Yeah,
it's a lot. Cory, thank you so much. Enjoy. Congratulations to the city of Atlanta because of the Atlanta Braves. What a tremendous time to be a Braves fan. And I just hope you have a blast this weekend. We cannot thank you enough for what you do for us, man. You've just made everything excellent in covering baseball. We'll get you back here very soon. There's going to be a lot of moving around going on in the offseason. But thank you so much, Cory.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
There you go. Cory McCartney, one of the best in the business out there covering baseball. No doubt about it. That's going to be a tremendous experience tomorrow. Got another tremendous experience for you. It's coming up next. Mike Uva, he's got some pretty good hair. He's in Columbia with Gamecock Central. We'll talk to him about a lot in Carolina land on the JB and Goldwater show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need the perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And 2 others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater show and the Big Gamecock Preview show.
Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, 12:40 Thursday afternoon. Welcome back. It is November the 4th, which, as I need to remind everybody, is 2 days removed from the Braves winning the World Series. They are truly America's team again, number one, because they won. Number two, because everybody gets a taco. Remember, it's National Taco Day, so go get it because of Ozzy Albies. This guy's a Red Sox fan. They didn't quite get there this year, although I would have loved to have seen Boston and Atlanta fighting to win this sucker. It's Mike Uva with Gamecock Central in Columbia. What's up, man?
Oh, slow down a little bit. You know, the win the other day was great for the Braves, the Boston Braves of Atlanta. So, you know, cue up the duck boats, another title for Title Town. Very excited for another Boston team to be able to get a championship. So I want to lead it off with that.
Okay. I didn't see Montreal celebrating in 2019.
Good point.
Well, I mean, just like Canadian football, I mean, I went to a CFL game. I don't even know that football is really being played, even if it's, you know, for the Grey Cup. They don't know what's going on up there from a football standpoint. They don't know what's going on from a baseball standpoint. So, no, but in all seriousness, very happy for the Braves. Very happy for a lot of people that, obviously, as you guys have talked about the last couple of days, so many people here in this state and just around this area in the Southeast. I mean, I remember just thinking about yesterday, you know, during my time in Mississippi, you have the M Braves that maybe play about 2.5 hours from where I used to work in Greenville, Mississippi, in Pearl. And people cared so much about the Braves to the point where we struggled. I mean, we were such a small station. We would get highlights from Jackson about the M Braves, but we would show Braves highlights. And sometimes we would struggle so much because, you know, you work at one of the smaller stations in the country. I would have to get my camera and videotape right off the TV the Braves games. I mean, granted, we weren't in HD, so it really didn't make a difference. But we would do everything we could because if we didn't show the Braves games, people would go absolutely nuts. So I know there's a lot of people happy from here through Georgia all the way down to Mississippi seeing the Braves win.
Well, now you're a Braves fan, Mike. Congratulations, man. Life is going to be pretty frustrating for you if you pull for the Braves and the Gamecocks. It certainly can be. No, it's just awesome time right now if you're a baseball fan in the South. I grew up in the South and am very familiar with how the Braves have always been embraced around here, and this is just amazing. All right, Mike, we got to move on though because the Gamecocks are actually on the hardwood tonight. It's the exhibition, or I guess the lid lifter, if you'd like to call it that, for Gamecock hoops. They've got Benedict's, so they're just coming across town. It's about a 5-minute ride down the street to be able to play this sucker. If you are in Columbia, it is free admission. The doors will open at 6, and they'll tip this game at 7. And so this is going to be our first look for real at Frank's new group. Mike, I mean, I know you've spent some time around him in the last few weeks. Walk us through those times that you have spent with him, those moments. First of all, Frank himself speaking, you know, to how he looks and feels about Frank Martin, but then how he looks and feels about the basketball program that he's leading.
Well, I'll give you one better. I just got a haircut, and one of the guys I was sitting next to is one of the players on the team. We were actually talking about how things have been going, and the first thing that he said is Frank is back to being Frank. Frank is himself in practice. Frank is himself around the players. Frank is just who we remember Frank to be before COVID hit him. And, you know, I understand there's some people that got sick and tired of hearing that over and over. It's like, you know, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is, and this is what the player said to me, when he got hit with COVID that second time, it was like you couldn't even recognize him, not from just a physical standpoint, but just from just an everyday standpoint of who Frank was and the makeup and how he won about his everyday lifestyle and practice and how he was able to coach. So I think hearing that first and foremost should excite people. And whether or not you're someone that is just counting the days down, hoping that Frank isn't here this time next year, I will say this. If you expect South Carolina to come out and look the way that they did last year, it's just not going to be that. And the reason why I feel confident saying that is just because that energy that Frank is bringing back into the program, the players have it. And just speaking to that one player in particular, you could just feel that excitement. On top of that, these guys are excited to play as a group. That was one thing that he mentioned as well, is just the excitement that these guys just being able to work with each other through the off season and, just these last couple of weeks with training camp. They are excited to play as a unit. They feel like the makeup that they have, not just from a athletic standpoint, but from a chemistry standpoint, can really surprise a lot of people. So, how much are we going to really be able to learn about this team tonight? I mean, probably not that much, but it will be exciting to be able to just see them on the court together, to just get an idea of what the starting lineup can be, and perhaps some of the guys who you can keep an eye on and who could potentially step up this season as the season goes on.
Yeah, and Mike, I think what's most intriguing, speaking with Mike Uva here, Gamecock Central up in Columbia, I think what's most intriguing to me is the fact that there are so many new faces, because generally, as you well know, Frank Martin teams take some time to kind of identify themselves and then take on that Frank Martin persona. I'm not sure if this is going to be one of those moments or not, because there are so many transfers. Like being coached by Frank Martin takes some maturity, and a lot of times young guys, it just doesn't click for them for another couple of years. But he's got a lot of guys who are new to the program, but they are not new to college basketball. They've been playing a while. So what do you think that means?
I think it can only help, but at the same time, too, I think one of the things that does scare me just a little bit, and we think back to last season because you had some new faces, too. I mean, I think of Seventh Woods, for example, not to pick on him, but one of the challenging parts about a Frank Martin team is adjusting to the defensive style that he plays, the defensive mentality more than anything, because a lot of the schools that these players are coming from, they have never been asked to play defense the way that Frank is going to ask them. And not just that, but just the strategy of it and making sure that you're doing your assignment. We know going back to last season, that was one of the things that really hurt this team, not just from a chemistry standpoint, but being able to get into a place where they felt confident with playing defense, losing about a month of being able to practice what Frank wanted to implement, because we know in comparison to years past, Frank's teams have been able to really find their rhythm as the season's gone on, especially from a defensive standpoint, because they understand what he is implementing. So that's going to be one of the trickier things. You have so many new faces. Yes, they have played college basketball, but how quickly are they going to be able to adjust to being asked to play the defensive style that Frank wants them to, and are they going to be able to? Now, I mean, knock on wood, everything works out fine. They don't lose any time like they did a year ago. Should they be able to pick it up better than they did a year ago? Yes. But will that be enough to be able to put this team in a position so that when you do get late into the year that we can talk about potentially getting into the tournament? That's another question. But how quickly they can pick up that defense is something that I would certainly be looking at, especially for the newcomers.
I think it's a great way to put it, Mike, because, I know that there's a lot of people. I'm not picking on Clint here. He's very similar to a lot of fans right now, but he sent to us on the Share Healthcare chat lines. I've heard all this before. I'll wait to see the results on the court. He was not referencing, by the way, your defensive comments, talking earlier about everything we previously discussed. But with Clint, I agree with you. A lot of folks in Gamecock country have heard a lot of enthusiasm coming into basketball season, and then it diminishes rather quickly. There's truth in that. There's also truth in this, and this is not an excuse. This is actually just a fact. To your comment, Mike, defense last year was atrocious. It was the worst defense ever in the history of a Frank Martin coach basketball program. And we all got to remind ourselves, December 5th until January 2nd last year, they didn't play a game. They couldn't even be in the locker room because of COVID issues. So there are a lot of things. I think people saw it last year and, oh, my God, he's lost it and it's totally over. I'm not in any way, shape, or form guaranteeing a winning season or the postseason tournament or anything like that. That's not what I'm doing here. But I don't know that what was seen last year needs to be expected this year by fans who are expecting it.
And look, I understand at this point, because you look at how many years Frank has been there. I get it. I get one tournament appearance. I understand that. But in terms of just putting how off things were last year, right? Frank obviously goes through COVID twice. The team just wasn't themselves. They lost a month of practice. We talked about how bad the defense was. This is how historically bad it was for a Frank Martin team. Last season, they allowed 100 points more than once in a year. Now, including Frank's time at South Carolina, including his time at Kansas State, that is the first time in his college coaching career that he has allowed, a Frank Martin team has allowed 100 points or more than once in a season. So I say all that not to make excuses, but it just puts it into further proof that this team just really was not themselves last year. And, was it a combination of Frank maybe not being himself and losing a month? I'm sure it was a combination of everything.
Sure.
But I wouldn't look back to last season and instantly believe that going into this season that it will be the same way. Now, I understand when we talked about, okay, South Carolina's only made the tournament once under Frank Martin. I get that. And I'm not saying South Carolina is going to come out here and be a tournament team and do this and that. But based on where they were a year ago, yes, I don't think that this team will be as poorly orchestrated on the court as they were a year ago. How far they can go, how much Frank needs to be able to get out of this team to be able to keep his job security for the following year, that's a great question. Because honestly, I don't know if anyone really knows this other than a guy named Ray Tanner and other than the, whoever the new president might be at that point. Because I don't know if Harris Pastides is really too concerned about that right now because obviously they're trying to fill a different position that's a little bit more important right now at USC.
Yep, no question. And the SEC is pretty good, boys and girls. And I will maintain something I've kind of been saying under my breath for a while. But now it's basketball season, so we'll get it out publicly, and then we're going to move on to football here, Mike. December 5th through December 18th is going to be a really valuable 2 weeks for Carolina basketball. Prior to that, a ton of winnable games, but then it's Georgetown, Florida State. Allen is mixed in there, and they got to go to Clemson. So there are going to be some real challenges, and if they can get through a couple of those boulders here in the non-con, get into the conference and have a nice run of it, who knows? The SEC is getting a lot more respect than they were the year that they missed the tournament before they made the Final Four run when they absolutely should have been in the tournament. Everybody knew it. But it's a little – times have changed. All right, Mike, times have changed for Gamecock football, kind of. Well, not the offense, but the time changes. I saw it. By the way,
it's changed. Yes, the team has not.
Times have changed. The football hasn't changed. All right, so Mike, shout out to Ben Portnoy. We're giving I guess we got to get him on the program here. Great nugget that I'm going to use in our preview show tomorrow. I'm going to send Ben a note and let him know I'm going to steal it from him, but I will credit him. Only 4 times in like 60 years have the Gamecocks and the Gators played where both teams were unranked, and they're 2-2 in those contests. And Carolina's won the last 2 of them, 14 and 19. Or 14 and 17. They only won 4 games in 19. Neither team is ranked this weekend. And it's kind of more of the same until you see something different, Mike. But what's the vibe coming off the off week?
I think the vibe is it was just a much needed break, not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. And maybe the fans could say the same as well. But I think being able to take a step back and, look, and I've said this a couple times in different pieces that I've wrote on Gamecock Central, that when you look at this team, they are 4-4. Is Vanderbilt world beaters? No. Is some of these other teams that they beat world beaters? No. But at the same time, they are 4-4 with 4 games to go, and they do have an opportunity to make a bowl game. If you said at the beginning of the season that they would be in this position, just from a record standpoint, you'd probably say, all right, that's a gauntlet of schedule. But as we've seen how the season's played out, there's possibilities for South Carolina to go into that final game of the season against a Clemson team who is a shell of themselves right now with 5 wins and potentially make it into a bowl game. Now, is that wishful thinking? Yeah, probably. But I don't think it's too far out of the realm when you look at what they have done from a big picture standpoint. Offensively, have they been good? No, they've took steps backwards. We know that. Defensively, are they great? They can still improve in areas, but they are much better than where they were a year ago. Special teams, they're much better than they were a year ago outside of that 95-yard punt return for a touchdown against A&M that they allowed. I say all that because just like a brand new kitchen, you walk into that kitchen, right? You see the granite countertops, you see the cabinets, the brand new sink, everything's great, brand new fridge. But unfortunately, there is just this nasty nasty, foul smell coming from the trash barrel. And that nasty smell is the offense. And you can't appreciate what else is going on in this brand new kitchen, this brand new renovated kitchen. That is what South Carolina football is right now. There is progress being made. There are a lot of good things going on right now. But because the offense has took steps back from a year ago, in a year in which they were 2-8 as a team, it makes things difficult to look around and appreciate some of that progress. In a year in which this team is going through a rebuild, whether we don't want to call it that or not, that's just the reality. So the offense needs to. I mean, at this point, words mean nothing right now. It's about action. They need to find a way to take steps forward. Do I think that's going to be enough to keep Satterfield at the end of the year? I don't know. I truly don't know because of how much this team has gone backwards from an offensive standpoint. But I do know this. Josh Vann will get double teamed. They will bring someone they'll bring a high safety down into the box. And they are going to challenge you, just like we saw with A&M. They are going to challenge you to throw it to someone else. Another wide receiver needs to step up this week. And on top of that, they need to be able to get the run game going. I mean, if they can't get the run game going and they can't get it to someone else other than Josh Vann, it's going to be a long, long day. I could care less who the quarterback is. I mean, shoot, JB, they could throw you out there for crying out loud. I mean, it really doesn't matter. They need to be able to find someone else to be able to catch passes, and they need to be able to run the football as well.
Yeah, I saw what happened to Zeb Nolan. I don't want to play quarterback at Carolina right now. Yeah, you know, Mike, I mean, I think that there's a thought amongst the fan base that you could at least muck this thing up enough to give yourself a chance late in the ball game by having a quarterback who can move around a little bit. Obviously, Luke wasn't able to move like he is generally capable of moving, which is pretty quick. I mean, he can scat around now when he's healthy. And Zeb Nolan can't, and we've known that since day one. So I think some people look at Jason Brown and say, well, yeah, hey, look, man, he's been third on the depth chart, regardless of what anybody said. He hadn't been very good. He's prone to turnovers, whatever. But this guy isn't going to just be a sitting duck and just get killed every time someone rushes the passer. So what are you hearing there? I mean, they've been non-committal about it this week, but I'm sure you've done some digging on your own. I mean, is there a likelihood that he does get his first career start in the SEC?
I think it's very likely that it will be Jason Brown's call the ball being in his hands, on Saturday. I think the question comes down to whether or not he is performing consistently in practice. And I think another reason why you don't want to come out and name a start, I mean, it's not even necessarily from a gamesmanship standpoint. I think it's more so just trying to put pressure and competition on Brown, who going back to training camp, you know, there were different things that came out saying that they wanted to see him get pushed a little bit more, right? When Luke Doty went down, that maybe he just assumed that he was going to be the starting quarterback. And he wasn't pushed the same way until Zeb Nolan came in there. And Zeb came in, and of course we know that obviously he was the backup that game, but essentially he's been the third-string quarterback for the entire season. So I think now that he's in a position where he has an opportunity to start this weekend, he's been handling himself tremendously in practice. He's been a tremendous team leader, and just a teammate in general. From everything that we've been hearing from team sources over at Gamecock Central, I think this is the time that you give him the ball. And it's not just the fact that Zeb's a little banged up right now, but it seems like he is ready for this role. Does that translate to success? Who knows? Because I mean, shoot, you could throw Connor Shaw out there, and I know Gamecock fans are going to crucify me for saying that. They're going to say Connor would win you games. I get it, but geez, relax a little bit, okay? Don't take everything so literal when I say it. You could throw Connor Shaw out there. I don't know if it makes a difference if you're not getting the consistent blocking, you're not being able to get guys open outside of Josh Vann. You need to be able to do things outside of just who the quarterback is. And I put that in a piece actually today with Gamecock Central, that you can't just depend on the quarterback to be the guy that steps up this week. Everyone needs to. Everyone needs to be able to find ways to do something, because this offense right now, it is in SOS mode. They need someone to step up big time.
Yeah, they need a SOS to come back and maybe call plays, but I don't think he's going to do that. Yeah, that is the 3 and Out column that's up at GamecockCentral.com right now. For those of you that head to Gamecock Central and you always see Chris and Wes and Colin and occasionally Mike, yeah, I get it. He needs to work more. So, Mike, you need to do more work. We're tired of reading everybody else's stuff. I'm just kidding, dude. By the way, I also like this one. Craig says Jenkins needs 5 to 7 targets in the Share Healthcare chat lines. Craig, you are so wrong. He needs 15 to 17 targets. The tallest corner for Florida is 6'2". Last I checked, he was about 6'8". Just throw him the damn football. Maybe that'll change this weekend if Jason Brown is able to get some snaps. Mike, before we let you go, any parting shots for the weekend? Any food recommendations? Anything you would suggest people guzzling before they walk into a Chili Williams-Brice on Saturday night?
Well, shoot, Stephen Garcia was supposed to come into town this weekend, but unfortunately he couldn't find a babysitter. So I'm being told that he'll come down for the Auburn game. So I say all that. So there'll be probably an extra, I don't know. Let's see, how many would Stephen probably drink? Probably be an extra
all of them
4 packs available on Friday and Saturday now for you. So you don't have to worry about getting over to Greens as quickly as you might have had to if Stephen was here. But from a food standpoint, shoot, what am I in? I'll tell you what, because I'm going to go to. I'll be at Carolina Calls tonight. Colin will be over at the basketball game. I'll tell you what, at Backstreet Grill, they have this tremendous Cajun chicken pasta. It is tremendous. So that has been kind of my go-to. I usually sit with the one and only Kirk Collinsworth, and he's got me on that now. So if you go to Backstreet tonight for Carolina Calls with Shane Beamer, check that plate out. I think you will enjoy it immensely.
Don't forget the Bojangles. Help you out there, pal.
Always. Always.
Yeah, don't forget your Bojangles. All right, Mike. Hey, man, great to catch up with you. Great work. I love reading what you're doing and watching what you're doing over there at Gamecock Central. It's just tremendous stuff, as always, from you. I'll be up tomorrow. I'll give you a shout when I get in town. We'll try to get together.
I appreciate that, and hopefully in the coming weeks we'll be able to announce some big things going on over at Gamecock Central. Maybe Chris and Wes are the ones that will probably announce it. I'm definitely maybe that's below my pay grade right now, but very exciting news coming in the coming days. So maybe I'll have to tell you guys off here afterwards.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll shout you when I come up tomorrow. We probably be doing that happy hour at Williams-Brice again. So I'll see what you're doing. We'll get together.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Mike.
Later, man.
Mike Uva, Gamecock Central. 1 o'clock Thursday afternoon. Time for a timeout. When we return, who's fired up for Friday night playoff lights? David Shelton certainly is, and he'll get you on his level when we return on the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
Final hour, Thursday afternoon. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice, driven by Stokes Volkswagen on what is turning out to be a nice Thursday afternoon here in the low country of South Carolina. Darren and Jamie on Twitter, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater, across all social media at JB and Goldwater. And then make sure you've downloaded our app and head to jbandgoldwatershow.com. Make sure you've got the Post and Courier coming to your house every day, either by the old school, you know, the guy that drives around, drops it off in your driveway, and you walk down in your bathrobe with a cup of coffee and pick it up, or just download the app. How about that? It's pretty easy as well. You can read that every morning, which means you'll be reading David Shelton every morning, who covers high school sports, Charleston Southern, politics, food critic. I'm just kidding. He doesn't cover politics. But beyond all that, he's a Braves fan. Have you dried your eyes yet, David? They won the World Series.
Did they really?
Yes, they did.
Holy cow. Man, I've been watching too much high school football film. Well, that's good for them. Way to go, Braves.
It's an amazing accomplishment. Take me back to 1995. Who was David Shelton in 1995?
I was about 6 years into my journalism career and had 2 kids and the third one on the way. And I remember, I'll be honest with you, I mean, I'm a Braves fan, but I was way much more into 95 than I was this year. I mean, this year was awesome. But I did not revolve around the Braves all season. And, you know, I mean, there were some playoff games I didn't even watch. I was busy. But in 95, with the Maddox, Glavine, Smoke, Javi Lopez, Chipper Jones, Fred McGriff, Marquise Grissom, with that crowd, I don't know that I missed a game of 180 or whatever they played, and certainly didn't miss any of the playoff games. I guess I was just younger and it was new. Even though this is new, this is more of a different generation of Braves fans. Like my sons are huge Braves fans, and I'm a Braves fan, but I guess I just got older and other things became as important or more important. But certainly in the playoffs, I paid attention, and when I wasn't able to watch, I was tracking it online on MLB.com and things like that. But unbelievable accomplishment for where they were in August to where they were on November 2nd was quite an amazing story. That 95 team, I mean, they might have been in first place from like day 3 on. I mean, they were really good. Everybody expected that team to be in the World Series and to win the World Series. And this team, I mean, they're when they made all these deals at the trade deadline, I mean, a lot of people, maybe me, was like, what are they doing? Like, why are they getting all these players? Because they're not going anywhere. But they did. And when they lost Charlie Morton, I was really worried, and for good reason, because Max Fried had not pitched well. And Ian Anderson had pitched that one good game, but you didn't know what you were going to get if it went to Game 7 with him. But the bullpen pitched great, and I'll be honest, when you had your radio show several years ago, I was not a Snitker fan. Yeah. You remember you and I talked about that. I was not on the Snitker bandwagon, but I got to tell you, having coached teams, certainly not at this level, but I know what goes into it, and he did a masterful job of navigating this ship, especially when they were losing. They weren't winning regularly, and the fans were on, what is he doing? And the bullpen was shaky. AJ Minter was up and down from the minors to the majors, and Will Smith was blowing saves. And, I gotta hand it to him. I mean, I can admit when I was wrong. I don't know if I was wrong back in 18-19 when I said that, but I'm definitely wrong today. I mean, the guy did a masterful job.
There's something to say about guys. I'm not always a big fan of this. Sometimes I think you can just throw your plans out the window, David, but there is something to say about a manager at any level who has a plan and believes in it and sticks with it, and it ends up working. You got to give credit, as you just did, where credit is due. And the Braves have won the World Series. I mean, I don't know how much more analysis there can be. They won the World Series. It's like, whatever, it worked. So
it's a good way to put it. Whatever, it worked.
Yeah, I mean,
we got the trophy.
We can second guess. There's still things we talked to Grayson Griner yesterday. There's still things that I would second guess, but they won the World Series. I mean, who the hell am I? It doesn't matter. All right, David. Well, not on the World Series level, but there are teams trying to win state championships starting. As a matter of fact, I think tonight there's a couple of games out there to be played, and then tomorrow night certainly high school football is rocking and rolling here across the state of South Carolina. Let's start with the wait. Who plays tonight? By the way, did I lose my schedule? Who are the Thursday night games?
That I know of. I think the only 2 games tonight are Berkeley at Fort Dorchester, and Baptist Hill is hosting Scotts Branch. I checked with some people yesterday about concerns of the weather on Friday. It looks like the weather is actually going to be late Friday night into Saturday morning. And then when I talked to Steve LaPrade yesterday, he's like, I'm going to look like a fool. He goes, it probably won't rain a drop before 10 o'clock Friday night. But he goes, we went ahead and did it. And Berkeley was okay with doing it on Thursday. Because I guess, Monday or so, it looked a little iffy for Friday, but it looks like it's going to be okay. It's going to be a little chilly, but the other folks I checked with said, no, we're not changing. So there'll be those 2 games, and then we'll move on to Friday where it's on for real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is going to be on for real. Look, I get it. It is going to be a little chilly this weekend, but not for football. Playing in the 50s, my God! Everybody grow a pair. We're gonna be fine.
I agree, and I've always been, aside from a hurricane, I think you play when it rains. But
when did we start this?
It's just not. And I think if we get more turf fields, if we get more artificial turf fields, I think Friday games in the rain will become very common. But until that happens, I think the fields just get so mangled. I mean, LaPrade was saying yesterday, he's like, our field, we played a lot of football on our field, and it's getting difficult. And he said, and we got to play. We're going to be at home for several weeks if we keep winning. And he goes, I didn't want to take a chance of messing it really bad up on Friday night. I can understand the field problem. Like when it rains at Goose Creek's field is a mess. But Somerville used to be, now it's got turf, and I think you'll see some more turf fields over the next 5 or 6 years. And then I think Friday night football, barring a hurricane, if it's raining, we're playing, and that's the way it ought to be.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned to me that there's a county or a district that's trying to go all turf. Is that true?
Around here?
Yeah, around here. I hadn't heard that.
No, I haven't heard that. I've heard some talk of some schools in certain districts. I mean, really, in Dorchester County, Fort and Ashley Ridge have natural grass, but Somerville and Woodland have turf. So, I mean, you're talking 2 more schools that could do it.
Yeah.
And I think that will happen. I think the possibility of Fort Dorchester getting turf in the next few years is very high.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard Berkeley County schools, maybe Goose Creek, maybe Stratford, maybe Cane Bay. But no one has said that. I have not heard of a district-wide policy going into effect. You're talking a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're talking 1.5 a shot million. So that's a lot of money to invest in fields. But honestly, with the way sports is growing, with the soccer and the lacrosse and football, I mean, you're talking soccer. You got boys and girls, varsity, JV, B teams. So that's 6 teams that could use a field during the spring. And then you throw in football, you got B team, JV, varsity that are using it in the fall. So I mean, I think it's a wise choice to get turf, but again, it ain't cheap. So you kind of got to go on a case by case basis, I would guess.
Domes will be the next thing. Anytime it's below 60, we got to move it, close the roof. All right, David. Let's start with the Skeeza boys tomorrow night in 3A. First Baptist is at Hammond. I think we all understand what Johnny and his Hurricanes are going to be up against up there in Columbia against Hammond. Heathwood Hall is down here against Porter Gaud. Let's start with that one. Maybe a little bit of an easier matchup there for the Cyclones at home.
Well, certainly easier than First Baptist, but Heathwood's not an awful football team. They're pretty competitive. That'll be a interesting contest. Porter Gaud will have to play well. That's not one of these just show up and win kind of thing. But they played well last week. I saw them play last week, and they got some good football players, and they're physical, and they're smash mouth, and Coach Bowles has done a really good job with that program, and they've won 7 games, and I don't know that a lot of people thought they would win 7 when the season started. So, they'll have to play well to win tomorrow, but First Baptist would have to play out of their minds and somehow get amazingly healthy and more experienced in a week. And Hammond will have to play really bad. I mean, Hammond's good. And that's not taking anything away from First Baptist, but this is a tall order. Hammond is the Dutch Fork of Skeeza football. So they got to play bad, and you got to play out of your mind to beat a team like Hammond. Not saying they can't be beat, but I'm saying it takes a lot to beat this Hammond team.
Elsewhere in Skeeza, low country teams involved here at the Class A level. St. John's Christian is at Calhoun Academy. Lee Academy is at Dorchester Academy, and Colleton Prep, they're at Thomas Sumter. 8-man football, by the way, is Lawrence Academy at Holly Hill Academy. Moving into the high school league at the Class A level, David Scott's branch at Baptist Hill, Cross at C.E. Murray, and St. John's is at Carver's Bay. What stands out amongst those 3 ball games?
Well, honestly, I think only one of the 3 will win. I think Baptist Hill will win their game. I think it's going to be very hard for Cross to beat C.E. Murray and for St. John's to win their game. I just see Baptist Hill advancing. It's just a tough schedule.
At the AA level, some stuff to keep an eye on here. Here comes Eric Bendig and Philip Simmons and the Iron Horses. They've got Mullins coming to Cane. What do we call it now? Cane Hoy. I mean, we don't. It's not really Daniel Island. We're calling it Cane Hoy, right?
Yeah, I think it's Cane Hoy.
That's what I call it. That's where I used to grow up out there and drink beer and fire guns into the middle of the night. Now you can't do that anymore. But Mullins is at Philip Simmons. Pelion is down here at Timberland, and Woodland's going to head up 41 to Andrews. Could be some pretty good football games on that slate there.
Yeah. I mean, I think Philip Simmons should handle Mullins. I don't think Mullins will be able to withstand that power running game of Philip Simmons. And again, Philip Simmons is at home as long as they're alive in the playoff. So everything's going to run through Cane Hoy in the lower state. And I like them winning their first round game. I think Woodland offensively, they just have not put it together, and Andrews is going to be more physical. That probably won't be a lot of scoring in that game, but I think Andrews will win that game. And Timberland should be favored to beat Pelion, but this Pelion team beat Barnwell a couple of weeks ago, so they haven't had a great season. They've lost some games that they really shouldn't have lost, but this is not a walkover for Timberland. They're going to have to show up and play because Pelion has shown the ability to beat pretty good teams. And Timberland's a pretty good team, but Timberland's going to have to play. I mean, this is not a walkover game for them at all.
122 here on Thursday afternoon. It's playoff season. SZN is how they hashtag it these days. I just say the word season. David Shelton with the Post and Courier at the 3A level here. David, you got Lake City coming down to take on OCA. Lakewood is at Hanahan, and Bishop England hits the road to the beautiful town of Camden, South Carolina, the home of Mr. Patrick Davis and my high school accounting teacher, Miss Ansley. I hope she's doing well. What stands out amongst those 3?
Your high school accounting teacher. Wow.
Yeah,
you went there with that. Okay, way to go.
Everybody had a crush on her too.
I didn't have accounting.
I think Bishop England is not going to beat Camden. I can tell you that. I think Lakewood will not beat Hanahan. Lake City will not beat Oceanside, but Lake City does have a couple of really good players. I mean, if you go to that game, they got a linebacker that's committed. I guess he's playing linebacker or safety. I'm not sure exactly how they play him, but he's committed to East Carolina. He's a really good player. They just don't have enough. They don't have enough to beat Oceanside. I mean, again, Oceanside's won 5 in a row. They're really focused on making a deep run into the playoff. Last year, it kind of got cut short in the second round by the COVID. And they're good enough to make a deep run. I mean, they're putting it together. They've got good players. I don't think Lake City will be much of a challenge for them tomorrow, though.
Which one of those 2, Hanahan, OCA? Let me pull the bracket up here. I mean, in 3A, what's the likelihood of those programs making a deep run in this thing?
Well, I mean, Oceanside's got a tough bracket. I'll say if they win, which they should, and Gilbert win, they would play Gilbert, which is a really good team. And then the winner of that game would play Dillon, which is a really good team. Yeah. So, I mean, Oceanside, they got the work cut out for them. I mean, they'll be as talented as, and as well coached and as good as Gilbert and Dillon. But I mean, those are tough those are tough games. Gilbert would be here. I think they would have to go. I'm pretty sure they go to Dillon if they meet them in the third round. So, Hanahan's in maybe an easier bracket, but Brooklyn Casey's in their bracket and they're pretty dang good. They scrimmaged Hanahan in the preseason, so they kind of know each other a little bit. Hanahan's just gotta make sure their defense shows up. Their offense is doing well. Their defense has got to play. And when you get to the second round, but certainly the third round, it's the rubber meets the road. Then you're down to the cream of the crop. But the lower state, after Dillon, Camden's in the lower state, and they're good, but they're not near as good as they were last year when they made the state finals. They're offensively, they're not near what they were, but they are really good on defense. That's why I said, you get through the first round, it's almost like a precursor to the playoffs. And then you got to really, you got to strap it on then because it's going to get difficult.
David chimes in here on the Share Healthcare chat lines. Have any of y'all been to Dillon recently? That town is in rough shape. David, I was through there a few years ago, and it's tough going up there. They got a lot of athletes, and there's a lot of good people in that area, but it's just tough going right now. Tough sledding in Dillon, which is historically a great as part of the state when it comes to sports. All right, 4A, James Island is at West Florence. So you Islanders like Jamie, who's always listening to us, if you headed up that way and you decide that you want to go check out south of the border, just a reminder, there's really nothing to see. And they are at least renovating the bathrooms right now, so that's good. But what does James Island's trek look like to West Florence, and how much of a chance they have to come home with a W?
It's gonna be a tough challenge. West Florence is a really good football team. James Island has made the playoffs and finished third in that region, and has had a pretty good season. Their defense is pretty legit. Offensively, they tend to struggle against the good teams. They don't score enough points, and I think that could be a problem going into tomorrow night because West Florence is they're gonna put some points on the board. They play in a really tough conference, so they're battle tested. I would not say that James Island would be favored to win this. It would be an upset if they were to go on the road and beat West Florence tomorrow night.
And then into the 5A we go. Berkeley at Fort Dorchester, which is tonight. Ashley Ridge at Cane Bay, Stratford at West Ashley, and Somerville at Goose Creek. All these programs are very familiar with each other. David, what stands out here amongst these four? By the way, Darren, do you have a game tomorrow night? Are you calling a game?
Yep, we're doing the Ashley Ridge Cane Bay game, a rematch of the 6-3 slugfest from, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, LSU Alabama action. Cool. Yeah. What stands out here?
All four of these games are rematches from regular season games. That's just the way the brackets, the two regions paired up. Goose Creek lost to Somerville back in the early part of the season, and so that'll be a revenge game. Stratford lost to West Ashley early in the year. Ashley Ridge, as you just mentioned, lost to Cane Bay. And again, I think that will be a very competitive game. Two really good defenses. Ashley Ridge is, they got to find a way to score a touchdown because Cane Bay is going to find a way to score a touchdown or two. But they know each other very well. Berkeley did not. I made a mistake. Berkeley did not play Fort Dorchester. They were scheduled to open the season with Fort Dorchester, and they got COVID. They could not play. So this is not a rematch, but it is a second time they've been on the schedule. So they're going to play tonight for sure because I'll be there. And Berkeley's got problems. They're not having a good season. They've had a lot of injuries. They've had coaches with COVID. Jerry Brown's return has not been what he had hoped and what the folks in Moncks Corner had hoped. They've lost to Goose Creek badly. They lost to Stratford badly. They lost to Cane Bay badly. So all by 20 points or more. And Fort Dorchester is better than all of them. So it's going to be a tough night for the Stags.
As I'm trying to pay attention to you, some of the folks in our Share Healthcare chat lines are entering into a secret game of let's talk about strip clubs. Apparently, the pole assassin has made her way into this conversation.
Wonder why they do that when I come on the show.
I don't know. I don't know.
Because the pole assassin is part of college football and football in general right now. It's a story.
The pole assassin. God. Oh man, what a
Josh Pate wanted to get a live monkey on his show Tuesday. That didn't work, so he just had a monkey graphic. If you don't know what we're talking about, Google pole assassin and you'll figure it out.
Yeah, you'll know.
Yeah. I had to Google it because I missed the boat on it and I kept seeing monkey, and I was like, what the heck is going on? So I did, and I was like, oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, this
got bit by a monkey.
Yeah, and this cat, he's trying to get the Washington State job, and they're like, yeah, you can't come here unless you either get rid of the girl or the monkey. So
yep, and ain't no college football job worth getting rid of the
monkey
woman.
Hey man,
not sure how to describe her.
Get rid of the pole assassin and hang on to the monkey. He'll cause you less problems in the long run.
I mean, if they thought Mike Leach was crazy at Washington State, bring this guy in and watch this stuff happen.
No kidding. All right, David, I've never claimed to be smart, but I'm not stupid either. I know Dutch Fork is the favorite to win in 5A, but if there's somebody who could pull an upset, who would it be?
I don't think I don't want to count Fort Dorchester out, but Fort Dorchester again has to prove to me they can get there. They've got to be focused enough to get to that point, and then their defense is pretty solid. I would still say Dutch Fork is a favorite. So I think if there's a team that can get Dutch Fork, it's in the upstate, a Northwestern, a Gaffney. I would have said T.L. Hanna until they got hammered last week by Hillcrest. But I think Northwestern and Gaffney are two of the teams in the upper state that could give Dutch Fork a matchup problem in some areas. And again, I think Fort, if they could get to that game, which means they would have been playing well through the playoffs. But they tend, and I think I said this last week, they tend to not show up mentally in some games. They didn't show up against West Ashley until the second half. They fell behind Somerville last week on a kickoff return on the opening play, turned the ball over a couple times, but they won by 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, what are we talking about? But I still think, when they bring it mentally, they've got the athlete to play with a Dutch Fork, but they got to get to that game. I would be more concerned about them getting upset before that, but they have the talent. They're very good. And they'll be very good tonight. And, but I would say really them or Sumter would be the two teams that everybody thinks has a chance against Dutch Fork, but I don't think anybody would pick either of those teams against Dutch Fork. I just don't. I mean, unless Dutch Fork gets some injuries or something.
We were going to open tomorrow's broadcast with the winner of this game will upset Dutch Fork. We shouldn't do that?
No, yeah.
You can say what you want, but I would not advise people to put money on that.
Okay.
And trust me, there was some thought by these two schools going, maybe we should lose this game so we don't have to go to Dutch Fork in the second round. But because neither of these teams, Cane Bay or Ashley Ridge, and I love both coaches, and I coach JV baseball at Cane Bay, although I don't deal much with the football team, their players, but I do wear the blue and black on occasion, but they're not beating Dutch Fork, and Ashley Ridge is not beating Dutch Fork. It's not happening. I would not. Like I said, it's your show. You can say what you want, but just don't put any cash on it.
I agree with you though. Zare and Fiddler are they're two good dudes. I enjoy working with them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And they've had good years. I mean,
Yep.
Heck, you want to win the first round, and it doesn't matter if you're going to play the New England Patriots. You're moving on to the second round, and that's the goal. And then you take the attitude, hey, we're going to show up, and maybe some bad things will happen to the other team. And, maybe Dutch Fort, if they played game day, they hadn't seen that offense at all this year. That A-bone, that wing key looking offense. So maybe you would surprise them with it. But I think offensively, as we said, I've said it on our scoreboard show every Friday night, you're going to beat Dutch Fort, you better get into the 40s because they're going to score. And normally they're at 40 by halftime. So you got to keep up with them. And that's been the problem, that teams just can't keep up with them. Offensively, they can't keep up.
David, by the way, a note on Sumter. Sumter and Dutch Fort could play in the third round of the playoffs. So I am let's see, who am I going to pick here? I'm going to pick.
You know what? Sumter's really good, but they're not great on offense. They do not score a lot of points, and again, that's a problem. That's why I said I think Fort, with their receivers and their quarterback, I think they're capable of scoring points. They could put 28 on the board against Dutch Fort. That would put them in the area of having a chance. I don't think Sumter can do that. Sumter has not shown this year they can score enough points to beat somebody like Dutch Fort.
It's a Gamecock themed problem when you can't score points, David. We know how that feels. Of course, Clemson ain't scoring. I guess the Tigers aren't scoring points up there either. So it's a state problem unless you go to Dutch Fork. How about that?
Yeah, well, I said on the scoreboard show a couple of weeks ago that Dutch Fork had the best offense in the state, and Coastal Carolina was second, and then there were probably four more high schools above Clemson, South Carolina. So.
Probably better. And the College of Charleston, they can put some numbers up as well, especially compared to South Carolina and Clemson. All right, David, give me a couple of 4, 3, 2, 1A levels. Who are the favorites to win state titles there, and we'll let you run.
I think in 4A, Myrtle Beach would be the favorite right now. There are some good teams like South Point and Greenville and Greenwood, but I really think Myrtle Beach is the team to beat. They've had a great season. They're the favorite in the lower state. You also got AC Flora, who's the defending state champ in the upper state. So the upper state's a lot deeper in 4A. 3A, defending state champ Daniel is again very good. Chapman in the upstate is really good, and then you got teams like Oceanside and Dillon and Camden in the lower state. But I think it's all going to go through Daniel. Somebody, again, like Dutch Fork, somebody's got to find a way to score a lot of points on Daniel because they score a lot of points on everybody. And 2A, it's either Abbeville or Gray Collegiate, and I think Silver Bluff's the best team in the lower state. Been saying it since August. They've proven that they're undefeated. The lower state is not near as deep. The upper state is with teams like Saluda, Abbeville, Gray Collegiate. Abbeville and Gray Collegiate would meet in third round.
Yep.
And they've been ranked 1-2 the whole year.
And that game, David, that game would be at Gray Collegiate as well, not in Abbeville. It'd be a win for Gray.
Yeah, I don't know where they would play that. Probably at Newberry College. I've heard because Gray doesn't have a facility. They play like at a rec field, so they can't host a third round playoff game for the attendance thing. So I've heard, and people have already. That's how far ahead we are of ourselves. People have already started trying to figure out where they're going to play that game, and it's a couple of weeks away. But I would say like a Newberry College maybe where they play, and the winner of that game. I think is going to win the state championship. And then in 1A, the defending state champ, Southside Christian, is again undefeated, very good. They've been rolling over people, but you have teams like Lakeview and Lamar and Baptist Hill in the lower state. They'll be in the hunt. C.E. Murray is a pretty good team. I think the lower state in 1A is deeper, but the best team is in the upper state, Southside Christian. So, we could have a lot of repeat state champions. We actually could have I don't know if we'd have a repeat in 4A, but we could because of AC Flora. I forgot. So yeah, I mean, all the defending state champions will be very much in the hunt over the next couple of weeks for sure.
All right, we're pulling for a Flora Myrtle Beach state championship. I think that'd be a lot of fun to watch, and pulling for Flora to win it, so Perry Orth can shove another ring on his fingers. How about that?
That would be a really good matchup. Again, the Upper State is deep with really quality teams like Greenwood, Greenville. AC Flora will not have an easy road to get. It wasn't an easy road last year, but it will not be an easy road to get to Columbia. The winner of the Upper State that gets to Columbia, you just hope that they're not beat up, because it's going to be some tough teams. There'll be some physical teams in the 4A Upper State. South Point being one of those teams that is as good as any of them. Big old quarterback, played great defense. Greenville, Greenwood, they played a classic game a couple of weeks ago in the regular season. And so, I mean, AC Flora will have their work cut out for them.
Oh, by the way, I meant to tell you, Paige Wofford and Northwestern are going to upset Dutch Fork in the 5A state championship this year. I'm calling that today.
Well, I say they've got a chance to win the Upper State. I love Paige. I've known Paige since he was a kid.
Yep.
And his dad was a coach at Berkeley when I was at Berkeley, back in the 30s. But Paige is a great dude, and I know a lot of people at Berkeley would have liked him to apply for that job when it came open last year. But Paige is very comfortable at Northwestern, and I certainly can't blame him. He's got a machine going right now. They're pretty dang good.
Yeah, he should be. I know his family's still up there in the Moncks Corner area, but Paige doing a great job. He's a great person. And go Northwestern. They win the 5A state championship. They'll beat Dutch Fork 75-0 in Williams-Brice.
It might be 75-74, but it ain't gonna be 75-0.
So somebody is going to win a championship in Williams-Brice Stadium. Hallelujah!
No, they're not playing at Williams-Brice. They're playing at Benedict.
Of course they are. Somebody. Of course they are.
No one's winning championships at Williams-Brice.
Son of a nutcracker.
I think the days of playing at Williams-Brice are over for the high school league. I think paying over $100,000 for the weekend to use that facility just got to be too much. If Benedict can hold it, and Bennett now we'll play. Remember, we're going to play state championships over 3 days, but that's okay. I mean, I don't care what days they play them on. But Benedict will be the test this year, and then we'll see what going forward. But I don't get the feeling the high school league wants to play at Carolina anymore.
Who does these days? David, we'll let you run on that note. Hey, go Braves, man. At the end of the day, the Braves have won the World Series. Let that sink in. I know it actually means a lot to you and your family. You're a better person than you are a writer, and I mean that wholeheartedly, because you're a very talented individual when it comes to putting pen to paper. So hopefully everybody's fired up for high school football. We know that you've got everybody rocking and ready to roll on at the Post and Courier. And I want to remind everybody as well, if you download the JB and Goldwater app, you can keep up with all the scores throughout the night, tonight, tomorrow night, because we've got the score stream on there. So check that out. David, we kept you a long time today, man, but it's football. It's playoff season. Thank you, buddy. Have a wonderful weekend.
Hey, no problem. No problem. Talk to you next week.
There you go. David Shelton, Mr. Mac and Cheese himself on a Thursday afternoon. All right, final time out of our afternoon here on JB and Goldwater. It is Power Hour, powered by Wando Power Equipment, wandopower.com. Literally anything that's ever been invented for the outdoors, they have it. You can rent it. All right, we're going to hit a timeout. When we return, Scott Glaze. We'll be right back. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and awesome.
You're welcome. By the way, anybody that's headed to Columbia for the Clemson Carolina game, if you are planning to go for the Patrick Davis Toys for Tots show that Friday night prior to in the Vista, you better hurry up and get yourself a ticket because they all about gone, boys and girls. Luckily, I am a VIP, so all of you sorry SOBs that don't have a ticket, I don't care. I'm just kidding. Patrick has been kind enough to once again give me some tickets, so I'll go and have Cory Miller put me in a headlock where I almost pass out like what happened 4 years ago for no reason at all. Hey, Scott.
What's going on? JB, you're a VIP everywhere you go.
No, I'm not. Believe me, I have been told many a times, no, sir. But luckily, that won't be the case this time. By the way, it is National Candy Day, and it is National Men Make Dinner Day. I know that Darren is a big cook in his house. I'm a big cook in my house. Scott, will you be cooking? Will you be cooking candy for dinner today?
I'm not going to be cooking candy for dinner. I think I have plans to go out tonight. Not going to cook, but yeah, I love to cook. Candy. When it comes to candy, are you more savory or sweet? Are you going like something like Skittles, or are you going something like chocolate?
Oh no! I'm a chocolate guy. Yeah,
yeah, same.
Yeah, chocolate, M&M's, Snickers. Reese's
bar.
Oh yeah.
Heath
So
bar.
my daughter's teacher, the Heath bar is her favorite thing. So after Halloween, at least one or two others, including my daughter, brought Heath bars in to give to her teacher.
Oh.
So I'm going to take a picture today when I get off the air of how much candy we have in this house. Our buddy who came over with his daughter, she's part of the breakfast club with my little girls. They call them the breakfast club at school. There's all these little girls that they're I don't know why they call them that.
They hang out.
Yeah. They brought all the candy that they had won at the fall festival and added it to ours. And there are 2 bags. I can't even explain how big they are, not to mention the buckets that weren't gone through and the candy my kids had trick-or-treating. It's all here. And I don't know what to do with it. Like, you can't just throw it away. It's not the crap. You know what I mean? It's not like candy corn or Dum-Dums or anything. I mean, it's good stuff. It's M&Ms and Snickers, and who throws out M&Ms and Snickers and Reese's? You can't do that.
Oh man.
So I got to figure this out. But I'm gonna take a picture and send it to you. How about that, Darren? What are you gonna make for dinner today?
Haven't figured that out yet. Normally that's before I go get the daughter from the after school program. I hit the store. It's like daily routine. Every day for me is almost exactly the same, and that's part of it. Go to the store and figure out what's going to be made for dinner. I'm not kidding. It's wake up with the daughter. It's go to the gym. Wake up with the daughter, do show prep, go to the gym, turkey sandwich, show, probably dog and duck, store, get the daughter, cook dinner, bed. Every day.
You don't want my life. Somebody send Darren a Christmas card. This poor guy's going to hang himself.
Hanukkah.
I'm just kidding. Hanukkah. I keep forgetting you're Jewish. Yeah, somebody slip up something in the mail for Hanukkah for Darren. Draw a picture or something. Scott, send him something. You got stuff out there. Just send him something. Send him a tea or something.
Yeah, we'll get some Stono swag.
There you go.
So, all right, Scotty. So, I mean, look, there's not a lot going on except for that Braves winning the World Series in football. I mean, there's just so much. I know you're a fired up Braves fan, as we all are, including Darren. David, I know he's Jewish. Get off my back. Who does this guy think he is? But I do. And we might go. We've been screwing around for the last few minutes, so we might go a little bit over the 2:00 mark. I hope that's okay with Darren. There is something interesting going on in golf that I really want to ask you about, and that's this Greg Norman thing. So can you educate us on what initially happened like 25-ish years ago when Greg Norman tried this? For all those who are wondering what I'm talking about, Greg Norman is basically trying to start up another golf organization or golf league with the backing of, I think, billions of dollars from some Saudi investment group. So kind of fill us in here on what's going on.
Well, Greg Norman, when the official world golf ranking was created, for a long time, Greg Norman was number 1 in the world, rightfully so, best golfer on the planet for a long, long time, arguably one of the best drivers of the golf ball of all time. He has been outspoken in saying that as an independent contractor, he's always had beef with the PGA Tour, which has rules and regulations regarding membership of the tour and how often you have to play a year, and they're not appearance fees and so on and so forth. And he has always viewed himself as, like I said, an independent contractor, and he should be able to make as much as he feels he can make for himself, for his talents and his image and likeness and all that type stuff. So much so that he, in the early 90s, tried to create, and I think he had backing from Fox, I believe it was, to Fox. Create another tour. It might have been called the World Golf Tour, and had notably, I think Seve Ballesteros was backing of this. Now in the early 90s, 1993, 1994, a different world than now. Obviously, that was back talking about the Braves. In 1995, I was about 1/8 of the size that I am now, and the world was a lot different. We didn't have the the social media aspect, the 24/7 news cycle, all that type stuff. So this did not get and golf was not near the commodity that it is today. And we talk about that often with the Tiger boom. So a lot of people may not remember what Norman tried to do in this other competing tour. So the World Golf Tour, it quickly got gobbled up by Tim Fincham and the PGA Tour, and it was squashed basically before it had any momentum. Well, fast forward now to 2021, and we've been talking over the past year, if not longer, about this Premier Golf League. Basically based around the Saudi area and all the money that is out there, and those investors out there wanting to create a competing league with the PGA Tour. Their model has been very much to base it like Formula One, where you have teams, so to speak, and you compete that way. There'd be a lot of money. The fields would be much less people, be a lot more lucrative for those involved. But however, it is a direct competition with the PGA Tour, which we don't have and really never had. Now the PGA Tour has made moves in partnering with the European Tour to sanction some events on the European Tour as part of the PGA Tour umbrella. They have many policies that have been updated in their tour handbook, a lot of boring behind the scenes things to really just kind of squash this Premier Golf League from happening. And every move that they keep making to keep this Premier League down, it keeps somehow bubbling up. And the newest news is that Greg Norman is going to be the commissioner of this new league. And I guess to tie a bow on all of it, it is ironic how outspoken he has been against the PGA Tour, the players as independent contractors. And that is why he is so adamant about this upstart league and the way that it can compete with the PGA Tour and could be lucrative for a lot of players. It's also very interesting because Greg Norman he is a made man. He's done very, very well for himself. And with his brand, the Greg Norman brand, which ranges from wines to restaurants to clothing to golf course design to this and that. I mean, that doesn't even cover all of it. And with this move, he's kind of stepping away from this brand that he's created, this Greg Norman brand, to solely focus on being commissioner for this new league. So we'll see if it's going to be a bust or not. I know that it's a major concern of the PGA Tour, and that's why so much attention is being put towards it, and why this hire is such a big deal.
But would anyone go play? Does it because the PGA can easily say you go play there, you can't play here. So can they get players? Can this actually work?
Yes. I think they can get players, but that's the problem, is that the PGA Tour, by being a PGA Tour member, in order to play in events that are not sanctioned by the PGA Tour, you have to be granted a release by the tour in order to go play. So the event in Saudi Arabia in February, Dustin Johnson, a lot of guys usually play over there. Can't remember the name of the event. For instance, those guys have to be released by the PGA Tour in order to go play that event. A lot of times, if they're going to go play a European Tour event that is on a competing week with the PGA Tour, they have to be released to do that. We never see conflict in that regard, at least that we know of players getting released to go play in these events. Well, because this is a league that is trying to compete directly with the PGA Tour and trying to poach players from the PGA Tour, the tour is not going to allow, they will not release players to go play in this league, even if it is, a 1 week thing or a couple week thing. So basically, I think they are going to take a firm stance and say that if you go and choose to compete in the Premier Golf League or whatever it ends up being called, you will not be a PGA Tour member. And they're going to draw a definite line in the sand. I don't think we're going to get a lot of the big names. I mean, we've seen guys like Rory, who I think is is a spokesperson for the PGA Tour. He's kind of a poster child for the PGA Tour. He has spoken out against it, and that he plays this game for more than just the dollar signs. It's all the prestige and everything that comes with competing on the PGA Tour at the highest level. We might see some players like Lee Westwood towards the end of his career, approaching 50 years old. And he has even spoken and saying that it might be a no-brainer for someone like him to go compete, spend the next X amount of years on something like the Premier Golf League that is going to ensure a lot of money for him that he would not be guaranteed to make on the PGA Tour, the European Tour at this stage in his career. So I think we could get some fringe guys, your middle of the road, maybe once you start getting into the 30, 40, 50 in the world golf rankings and beyond, that might make that plunge and decide that the monetary value is greater than being a part of the PGA Tour. If they don't get any big fish, it's going to be hard for them to sustain as a tour. I believe you're going to have some big names to carry it, to get viewership, to get sponsors, or it's going to be like any type of competing tour that we see, or a competing league that we see. We've seen it with football as well. It's just not going to last if you don't have anybody to really carry it. I would not be shocked if we saw someone like Phil Mickelson to actually go and play in something like this Premier Golf League. I think it'd be a shock. And I think when Phil really sits down and thinks about his legacy on the game and the impact that he wants to have on the game for years to come with Ryder Cup captaincies, President's Cup captaincies, what he's going to do for the game of golf, I would hope that he would maybe reconsider. But we know Phil, and he's all about the shock value and being a little bit of a contrarian. So somebody like that, I wouldn't be shocked to see leave and play events like that either.
Where would they primarily play a lot of these events? Would they try to play many of them here in the States?
I think that's the plan. They'd want it to be a global league. It would not be, at least the initial structure of it is that it'd be a global league. They play all around the world. Most of the events would be in the United States. It would not be every week like we see on the PGA Tour. But the money is coming from the Middle East and Asia area. So I think, especially at the start, we would probably see a good amount of events over in that area. And gosh, I mean, we could open Pandora's box with it, because as you get into then TV deals, which the PGA Tour is in deep with a lot of these, basically all of the networks. I mean, you have ESPN, CBS, NBC, which owns the Golf Channel. They're out now with Fox. You could maybe have Fox come back in and try to pick up golf. I mean, there are a lot of different things, a lot of plates spinning to make this thing work. And it's interesting. They're hoping to play in 2022. I feel like that could be a stretch. There's a lot that needs to get done in order for that to happen.
Scott, could they target younger golfers? I mean, like I agree with you. You have to have a big name or two. I mean, a Phil or whomever. Okay, I get that, but they're not going to be around forever, and they're going to have to have somebody that at some point in time is going to be able to blossom and carry this thing on their back. I don't know if anybody can ever do it again like Tiger did, but like, could they target younger players, teenage type golfers, and try to and lure them that way with cash, and then allow them to grow up in their league?
Yeah, I think you could certainly see that, much like we saw, was it the USFL, where we had like Herschel Walker and Jim Kelly and Doug Flutie and those guys that actually went there instead of the NFL to play.
Yeah, basketball leagues are doing it right now. I think high school, come get paid, and then go to the pros.
Right. And I think that is a way that if I were trying to run the league, I certainly would try to do that. I'd try to lure these up and coming golfers, lure them with the cash, to come to the PGL, if that, like I keep saying, if they end up calling it that, And maybe these guys, get that notoriety and that success off the bat. I mean, I'm speaking like I don't see this thing lasting more than a few years. But if it is something that is going to be sustained, then gosh, it's hard. It's hard for me to wrap my head around, because all we have known is the PGA Tour. That's the pinnacle of the game of golf. So to have two competing tours, I just think would be bizarre, and I really don't think it will last. I think the PGA Tour will find a way to come out on top in this little scuffle. But I would certainly, if I were them, I'd go after this younger talent. The PGA Tour has this PGA Tour U program set up that gives instant status to the top golfers, senior players, senior collegiate golfers. So I could see a similar program maybe being set up by this other league to nab some of those guys to get some buzz going for their league.
So I know we're past due here, but generally, Scott, competition is good for literally anything in any field. I think that we have found that competition is good in sport. I mean, I think boxing's trying to make a comeback right now. I'm trying to think about some sports too where it's the individual and it's not the team. And boxing had fallen by the wayside. UFC became the hot thing. Now we're seeing boxing make a comeback a little bit. So I always feel like competition is good. And in golf, it's individualized. But what, like this is probably a conversation for another day when we have much more time to do it. But is the PGA Tour lacking in any area that could be improved because of competition? Like, is competition necessary right now for the PGA Tour? Is it needed? I mean, you're a golf pro. I mean, you would probably know much better than most.
I like you said, I don't think competition is ever a bad thing. So I think that what this is going to do, and what has already forced the PGA Tour to do, is to kind of look in the mirror and say, hey, where are we lacking? Mm-hmm. What can we do to be better for the players, to be better for the fans, just to be better overall, to make this the pinnacle of the game of golf that it has been for years and years. I think it's a great thing that this and the rumors of this have already caused more of an alliance between the PGA Tour and the European Tour, and that we have some events like the Scottish Open. There are a couple of others that next year in 2022 will be PGA Tour sanctioned events. They're going to get more coverage on the vast array of networks. There's going to be higher purses. They're going to have better fields. That's great for the game. I think the tour, I think they can condense the season from a fan aspect. I think they need to condense the season because you start to lose some people this time of year as we have other sports going on. We just had the World Series wrap up. The NBA is getting kicked off. We have college football and the NFL in full swing. No one's watching the Mayakoba or Bermuda or these events to come. So I think they can, from a fan aspect and really getting the most eyeballs and retaining the most fans, is to condense the season a little bit and to make it have more of a shootout type feel, that every week is a big week, that we're not going to have as many off weeks, so to speak.
Scott, what if they just change the model of some of these tournaments? I mean, would there be a way in late October? I'm with you. I think it stretches a little far, but would there be a way in October to change some of these tournaments to, hey, look, the top 24 players in the world qualify and you only play Saturday and Sunday? I mean, I think that'd be pretty entertaining television.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I think you could do some things maybe with Stableford. Maybe you could do more team events. We love watching the Ryder Cup and alternate shot and best ball and things like that. And, I say that we need to condense the season, but there is there's a lot of good in these events because we have a lot of young talent that just graduated from the Korn Ferry Tour. They're getting their first starts on the PGA Tour in this fall swing, so to speak. So there is good in that, but it's still, Yeah, it needs to be spiced up a little bit. Maybe, and I've said this for years, is instead of having your traditional Thursday through Sunday golf tournament, even if you are going to have the Mayakoba Classic or the Bermuda Championship last week, why not play it on a Monday through a Thursday? And then you don't compete with football. I mean, football is what they're competing with. There's not much going on TV wise, unless you're maybe a big NBA fan or, network TV. But run these events during the week in the silly season, so to speak, get more viewership that way. So we can see this young talent and see these lesser events. Yeah. I think that would be great to mix it up however you can, different formats, different days of the week, however you can. And fortunately, like you said, competition is going to cause them to do things like that.
Scott, we got to let you run on that note. By the way, in golf today, the Worldwide Technology Championship at Mayakoba, that's not a mouthful or anything like that. Matthew Wolf is leading 10 under. He is 2 shots ahead right now of Aaron Wise, 8 under, Chris Kirk and Billy Horschel at 7 under as well. Guys, we told you this in October. Matter of fact, we told you in September. Don't get caught sitting on your hands. It's November now. Gift cards, pro shop, all of it out there at Stono Ferry. If you got a golfer in the family and you're like, man, what do I get him this year? Dude, just go to Stono Ferry. What's wrong with you? What are you thinking about? But, take the drive, go to stonoferrygolf.com, call Scott. He can get you a gift card, and then you can shove it in someone's stocking, and it'll make everybody's world better because we all need that these days. But it is that time of the year. Stono Ferry Golf to hook somebody up with some sweet new digs or give them a round of golf to one of the best places to play in the whole state out there on the banks of the Stono River. And it's a beautiful time of the year to play golf, too. Those of you that have waited for the heat and the humidity to get out of here, hello. Have you been outside lately? It's time to go. Scott, thank you. Book your tee times at stonoferrygolf.com. Thank you so much. I think it's great stuff. I'm going to be following this story. I'm really interested to see what happens and how things come together. Greg Norman, he's the shark, man. He's the shark. You never know.
Yeah, I know. It's a huge name. It's big news. And definitely come. We can do instruction, merchandise, apparel, equipment. I mean, anything. That gift card is going to get you anything out here and get you a bunch of hot dogs. So come get one. Get one for Darren, to brighten his holiday season.
Yeah, just a gift card for hot dogs and bourbon. They've got it there in the clubhouse. Yeah. Stono Ferry. Have a wonderful weekend, buddy. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Great stuff. And we'll talk to you probably next week. I think we should do that, Darren. We'll talk to him next week. That's what we'll do.
That'll work.
Thanks, Scott.
Cool. All right. See you guys.
There you go. Scott Glaze, Stono Ferry Golf, and JB and GOT. Overtime, 12 minutes past due. We gotta go. We're sorry. Thanks to Scott, David, Shelton, Mike Uva, and Cory McCartney. A full day, and it'll be another full one tomorrow. The big Gamecock preview show is back in the 1 o'clock hour with JC Sherbert and Michael Flint. We'll keep our eyes on the pole assassin and her monkey and give you any updates that occur with that tomorrow. Thanks to Darren as always. Have a thirsty Thursday afternoon at the Dog and Duck. It's also buy one get one half off at DB's Cheesesteaks. Don't forget. Good to see y'all. Love you. Can't wait to see y'all again tomorrow. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen and presented by Motley Rice, will return at noon, and we will see you then.